Hey y'all, welcome to Cornbread and Roses. I'm your friendly neighborhood organizer, Austin, and I'm here tonight with Red Mike.
Hello, comrades.
And yeah, we are one of the only socialist podcasts in Alabama and the most unprofessional podcast in the land. And yeah, we got a mess of stuff to talk about. We got some memes and media. We got a couple things in socialist history. uh Thinking about in my calendar, my DSA calendar that I got. um it's the year is over, and a conspiracy this week, and then we got a mess of articles that truly prove that cruelty is the point. They say no man above the law, but I say no law above the people. So yeah, wow, it's the fourth. Starting off the year with a bang, ain't we, dog?
Yep. Literal bang, I guess.
Mm-mm-mm. Yes, sir. We'll hear about some thoughts on that from our elected officials. Oh, goodness. Yeah. What's today? Oh, it's
Today is Sunday the 4th.
it's
Tomorrow is extremely my birthday.
Oh man, you gonna do anything special?
I'm going to work.
No, hey, that's what everybody should really do on their birthday.
I know,
Is
right?
is work. Shouldn't
Well, I'm going to do my job.
why? Why isn't that a law? Why isn't there a law that says you can get off on your birthday? Why isn't everybody's birthday a holiday?
I could take off if I wanted to, but I got
Right,
stuff to do.
right. But I'm just saying, I think it'd be pretty good law that no matter
Yeah.
what, everybody gets their birthday off. Uh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, that would be cool.
let's see here. You know, that world is possible, folks. Let me see if I can figure this out, because I have not been feeling all that great today. Um, Took some medicine. I took a nap. I woke up at 5 this morning. Uh, you know, you know how it goes.
I haven't been feeling great today either. Like, my stomach was been upset all day.
Oh, like you need some yogurt, some probiotics. We got this new our dog, man. Poor thing. He just can't stop like scratching himself and stuff like that. And the other dog is fine. Vet said it was like grass allergies, but there ain't no damn grass. Uh, and my partner, I get on my phone a little text says dog is human. I'm like, well, what's this? She's like, it's vitamins for the dog to try to help him, you know, stop scratching. But I I thought it was a misprint or something. We get that thing in the mail, and sure enough, dog is human is the name of the stuff. So we will
Wow.
see.
Interesting.
Maybe dog better than human, maybe on a lot of cases. So yeah, let's go. Let's get this rolling because we need to get to them articles. All right. I'm telling you, they are batshit insane. They've got nukes aimed at London, Paris, even the Vatican. Look up the Samson option. Anyway, welcome to Applebee's. Yeah. Our Zionist folks out there, and they're they got the Samson option. Well, there's some other stuff they got. What's the other one? Where they're willing to kill Israeli folks. Uh, not, oh goodness, it'll come to me. Oh, oh man, I thought I'd get some of those dollars. Profits go to our shareholders. You pay the taxes that keep the American army in Venezuela.
Yeah.
The U.S. oil companies. Yeah, we subsidize everything. Our tax dollars subsidizes directly these corporations and indirectly through using the folks in our military to, expand, line their pockets. And we get it going both ways, folks. We got Jack Dexterity up here, blessed hard cheese. To teach my kids a lesson about socialism, I gave all my kids a list of chores that I thought they could handle, but set their allowances at the same level. Then I had the CIA murder me and install a puppet dad.
There you go.
I will. I guess I'm gonna be getting a visit from them soon too.
You're not down if you're not on a watch list.
Yeah. We got Luigi over here. Oil wars, class war. Yes, Luigi. There's a class war being waged. Even if you ain't fighting against it, it's being waged upon you.
It really is true that Luigi can't take a bad picture.
I know.
He's extremely photogenic.
Yeah, he's oh my god. When he gets out, when that jury lets him off, I'll be listening to his podcast. I'll say that. Let's see here. I can see a modeling career ahead for him. Maybe he'll be a model for some healthcare company. Oh my goodness. All right. One thing Venezuela has that the U.S. won't steal is universal health care. Y'all should look at the list of countries that have universal health care. It is not everybody, but a lot, quite a lot. And being the richest country in the history of the world, you'd think we'd have it too by now. Please, bro, just one more regime change, bro. I promise it'll be different this time, bro. Trump is liberating the Venezuelans and installing a far-right puppet out of the goodness of his heart, bro. It won't be like the last 80 military coups we've orchestrated. Trust me, bro. This one's special, bro. Yeah, I think it's the 57th just in Latin America intervention by the U.S. So, hey, we're getting up into like some DiMaggio numbers, some oh, got Karl Marx here. I warned you this would happen, right? We got colonization and stuff going on out there, and then imperialism, which is we use that word a lot, and from my understanding, it basically means using financial leverage to extend empire. So I'm sure somebody would be happy to correct me out there. Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. No wars. America first. President of peace. Take out that no wars, America first chip. You put in the opposite, and let's bomb Yemen, Syria, Iran, Somalia, Nigeria, Iraq, and invade Venezuela and anyone else Trump doesn't like.
They're already talking about Colombia and Cuba and even Mexico.
Don't forget Greenland.
And Greenland, just straight up taking it from Denmark.
Yeah, I saw somebody who was right. Well, what do the native folks in Greenland think about Trump taking the place? Well, something like almost 80% of the people don't want that to happen, and almost 80% of the people are native. So do the math, right? Native folks up there don't want him in. I don't know why that would be a question, but it was. Yeah, and we got here no blood for oil, impeach the pedo. can't say it better myself. I don't know where this is at, but it looks like a lovely day. Got a few people. You know what? We had a few people out the other day. Uh, and we'll get to that. As a matter of fact, maybe that's the first thing we get to in a second. But first, on to this week in socialist history. I only got a couple things really because, like I said, my calendar is expired. What? Hold on, was there the last couple of days?
I ordered a new calendar for us, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Man, how they doing us like that? It's the 4th.
I don't know.
All right, we got so yeah, okay. So on the 29th, the University of Tokyo, this is December, cancels entrance exam over student protests. This is 1968. All right. On the 30th, the Flint sit down strike begins, 1936. The 31st, New York City hotel workers and wait staff organized by the IWW, shout out to them, strike to abolish tips, 1912. We still got that tip system, folks, getting $2.13 an hour. It hasn't been raised since 1992. And yeah, that's the end of the calendar, folks. Thank you, calendar. Such a good calendar. I feel like I should have wrote in it. In that, you kind of should write in calendars, right? Things that happen during the year. But I'm one of those folks that has like 3 or 4 notebooks that are just blank and empty. Like I don't know, like I'm scared to write in them or something.
Yeah, maybe so.
It's supposed to be an ADHD thing, apparently. So
Really?
yeah. There's man, you start like looking at like behavior and stuff like that. If I was on TikTok, I ain't on TikTok, but like there's all kinds of things like, oh, you do this, yeah, you probably have ADHD, like carrying like 2 drinks, having multiple drinks around you, like exactly in this moment. So, yeah, just all kinds of little things that neurodivergent people share, which, hey, we share a lot of things, beyond, the neurodivergent thing. I think that was very eloquent. But on to the other couple things. Where you at? We're using this guy today, which I don't know how I feel about, but they made super bad. But they've added AI to this site, which
wow. What the hell?
Yeah, socialist AI.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it.
Nah, dog. That's I'm gonna have to pass. But there it is. 25 years ago, the Democrats officially sanctioned the theft of the 2000 presidential election. Y'all remember this? Was the Brooks Brothers riot down in Florida?
One of the most successful political demonstrations of all time.
Mm-hmm.
The Brooks Brothers riot to shut down the counting.
I swear there were like 20 of them, maybe 50 of them.
Yeah, there weren't that many of them.
And wasn't Roger Stone there? I feel like he was.
It wouldn't surprise me if he were there. Roger Stone and Brad Blakeman take credit for managing the riot from a command post, although their accounts contradict each other.
Of course, because they're both fucking liars. So yeah, the Democrats ratified the election with the only folks standing up was the Black Caucus in Congress with Al Gore. What's the word? Presiding over his own defeat. that yeah, pretty
It'd be
fun.
more. Yeah, one of just my watching the Democrats roll over for the GOP in my entire lifetime. Started paying attention to politics right around that time. I was in high school when this happened, and it was just disappointing to watch the Democrats roll over for it. And then I thought, well, surely they won't do it again. And then 25 years later, here we are.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. The slow recession of law, folks. The other, whoa, oh, what was that one? Yeah, 50 years ago, Seymour Hersh exposes the CIA funding of Italian political parties. You can look up Operation Gladio and stuff like that, but that's not the other one I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at, um, not that one. This is a tragedy in 2001. 14 Ecuadorian immigrants being transported to farm fields in Lorca, Spain, died. But this is 50 years ago. Venezuela nationalizes oil industry. January 1st, 76, President Carlos Andres Perez officially proclaimed the nationalization of the country's petroleum industry, move that established the Petróleos de Venezuela SA, PDVSA. You might have seen that occasionally in the news lately. Citgo. You see a Citgo, that's them. And yeah, frame the nationalization as a second independence for Venezuela and a triumph of sovereignty. This is a decision of the Venezuelan people. We are masters of our own destiny and owners of our own wealth. We are taking the path toward the recovery of our fundamental resources, put them at the service of our country's progress. Now, I want to get rid of the oil industry, but until that happens, this was a good thing. Uh, you know, imagine if people here in the United States had ownership of, they have this up in Alaska. You know what I mean? Like there's a sovereign fund they have up there where the residents, they get, a stipend. I don't know how much it is, what have you, but it ain't zero, you know. But yeah, so they nationalized the oil industry a long time ago. Businesses have gone back and forth on things. Exxon being the last kind of folks involved. I've been reading quite a, I read a few things about Venezuela's oil industry. I don't know if I should save it for Wednesday or not, but uh, basically, I'll say that it's not as simple as drill hole or use stuff already there. Oil gets transported. Like it's not as simple as that. There's a lot of uh, things involved to in to make that process happen. Um, the gist of it is they think they're going to get the oil out the ground real easy, and the type of oil it is called like a heavy sour crude. You actually need two holes to get to it. You got to have one hole pulling it up, and then you got to have another hole driving steam into it to make it where it can be moved. And then the stuff can't even be moved through pipe. So like it's a little bit, it's a complicated process. Uh, yeah.
I've seen some news articles that the oil companies aren't necessarily as willing to spend the money to extract the oil as Trump is hoping.
Yeah, he's not getting no bites on that fishing line, is he? Uh, yeah, but if it was really about the oil in October, he could have cut a deal with Maduro because Maduro offered a deal. But it ain't just as simple as that. And then there's also the talk about there's other minerals and rare earth minerals and stuff in the country and whatnot, you know. But at the core of it, uh, we shouldn't be doing it. Shouldn't be doing it. I know Maduro ain't the most popular fella, uh, but this is this is not something that's going to help Amer- folks here in America, you know, or folks internationally. And like you said, and I agree with you that this is just the start. That with that security memo that came out, their proclamation about the division of spheres of influence and retreating, which okay, some I'm sure some folks like that idea, which okay, but that doesn't mean we should then start invading countries and trying to annex countries and have a plan to go to Mexico. They announced in August plans to do military action in Mexico, so they're chomping at the bit. They've shown plans for Colombia, Greenland. Well, where else? We were just saying Cuba. I could
Cuba,
see
yeah.
why not Brazil? He don't like Lula, throw Brazil in there. So we shall see. Um, now that's this week in socialist history. We've got
I had one thing I wanted to mention on
yeah.
January the 1st. So that is in 1994. It is the anniversary of the Zapatista rebellion in Mexico, in Chiapas, when the
Okay.
Zapatista Army of National Liberation declared war against the Mexican government to protest economic policies that negatively affected indigenous people, particularly the implementation of NAFTA. The uprising aimed to secure rights for indigenous communities and led to the establishment of autonomous municipalities in the region. So that is a thing that happened. Look up the Zapatistas sometime.
And they're still out there.
They're still out there.
So that is something I'd like to get smarter on or read about. But yeah, pretty amazing. All things considered in this world. But all right, you ready for the conspiracy this week? I kind of
Absolutely.
Gotta love this. Representative Melissa Hortman's children asked President Trump to take down conspiracy video. If you don't remember, she was one of the people assassinated up in Minnesota. And he has been posting this video that suggests that Tim Walz, governor, was behind the killing of Hortman and her husband, Mark. So, yeah, pretty,
Pretty sick stuff.
yeah, par for the course for this absolute rapist, pedophile, criminal, all the things. He's figured out how to do every crime in the book, except maybe jaywalking with his lazy ass. But video pulls from a conspiracy theory that has festered for months following Hortman's killing that mostly leans on the fact that the accused gunman, Vance Volter, was appointed by Governor Walz to serve on a state board, and Hortman was the sole Democrat that voted to strip health care benefits from undocumented immigrants. Theorists suggest Walz knew Bolter because of that appointment, but Bolter was one of hundreds of people the governor appoints to boards each year. Bolter was originally appointed to this seat by former governor Mark Dayton in 2016. Video also suggests Hortman was killed because she broke rank with her DFL colleagues. That's a Democratic Farmer Labor. I think that's what they call the Democratic Party up there. Well, I mean, it's colleagues to take a stance against benefits for immigrants. In reality, Hortman reluctantly voted to end the benefits for undocumented immigrants to get the budget deal done. In fact, Waltz also reluctantly supported the healthcare compromise and signed the bill after it was approved. So, yeah, children are not happy. My father and mother, Mark and Melissa Hortman, and their dog, Gilbert, were killed by a man who believed conspiracy theories and fake news. Words matter. Sharing fake news is dangerous. One part of my grief journey has been understanding the last conversation with my mother. She loved her job. People respected her job and what she did at her job. When I called her after the legislative session ended, I asked why she voted for the bill mentioned in the video shared by President Trump, and she wept. That bill and her vote had nothing to do with fraud. She voted for that bill because it was the only way to avoid a government shutdown. She had seen the impact of shutdowns. People lose their health care, their jobs, and in some cases, from a story she told me, have taken their own lives. She was in a tough position on that vote, never really voted against her conscience like that. It was emotional and extremely difficult. Her struggle with that vote makes this conspiracy all the more painful for me. I'm asking President Trump to remove the video that he shared and apologize to me and my family for posting this misinformation, for using my mother's own words to dishonor her memory. So, President Pedo Scumbag at it again. That's the conspiracy of the week. And we are rolling, folks. Yeah. Let's see. We had a little get together on Saturday. I can't believe that was yesterday. But yeah, there was a protest against the illegal unilateral decision to kidnap Maduro and his wife. They're up in New York now, I do believe.
That's what I've heard.
And seen videos, some Venezuelan folks upset about it, some Venezuelan folks happy about it. But the fact is that it was illegal, immoral. It's not helping the world, make the world a better place, really. The folks in Venezuela, it's incumbent upon them to organize against, like, if they wanted Maduro out, and figure that out. But just like it's our job here to figure that out, imagine if, I don't know, Xi Jinping or Putin had a military operation to take Trump out. As much as I don't like Trump, I don't know, I might be a little conflicted about that. I don't think that would be necessarily a great thing to occur. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to be ruled by a Russian viceroy or
Yeah.
a Chinese viceroy, for that matter.
Which seems to be that we're, there's a, well, what, man, we're just going to hit on this, but I just want to say, hey, we had folks out there protesting. There's some more news articles. There's a lot of comments on this. I was surprised. 7,600 reactions, 4,500 comments on this little Facebook post, by the Huntsville Times. So,
wow, how many from Chuds?
I didn't really get to, it's definitely there. Like, they're against kings, but dictators are okay, I suppose. I've heard that line over and over. Green hair says it all. Green hair really makes me want to stop. That person with green hair is a veteran, by the way. Uh, and yeah, a 25-year dictatorship. I'm sorry, I should have said dictatorship. What I meant was warmth of collectivism. That's another line they're using that Zoran Mamdani said up in New York. You know, so it seems. Let's see here. Yeah, it seems pretty chuddy. Looks like the clowns came out. It's really hard to take folks here if you come out looking crazy. Lol. Like, uh, I feel like I should investigate some of these profiles, but I think I got some better things to do as well.
Yeah.
Oh, back to green hair, haircuts. Yeah. Oh, here's some hair stuff again. Oh, hair color.
Why does that matter?
Yeah, like they talk about freedom, but only if your hair looks like they want it to look. I don't know. Uh, so with that, where do we want to start? Our hair news director.
So we'll have more to say about Venezuela and Zoran Mamdani's inauguration on Wednesday, which is sort of our night for handling international and national news stories. This show, Cornbread and Roses, is mostly focused on Alabama, but I did want to start off with some quotes from a couple of Alabama politicians on the legality of the U.S. action in Venezuela. So the article starts out with quotes from the usual suspects like Mike Lee and Tim Kaine, who have party line views on it. But I wanted to highlight what Terry Sewell said. She is a... Let's see if I can't find the article. Come on, where is it?
I got it up here if you can see the screen. Oh, there goes my cigarette.
We are the most professional podcast in the land, and we show that every time we get behind the microphone. She is quoted in this article somewhere, and now I can't find it.
Here we go. I got you right here. In a release, Alabama Democratic Congresswoman Terry Sewell, who takes money from AIPAC, there is no doubt that Nicolas Maduro is an illegitimate and corrupt leader, but President Trump does not have the authority to unilaterally invade a sovereign nation, capture its leader, and haul them back to the United States. His reckless actions threaten to further destabilize the region and put our troops in harm's way while dragging us into another regime change war against the will of the American people. The fact that he did so without even briefing Congress, let alone seeking congressional approval as required by the Constitution, is extremely alarming and sets a dangerous precedent. The Trump administration must immediately explain to Congress and the American people why such an attack was justified and how it plans to ensure stability in the region. Yeah. They're, trying to say, what is it, Article 2 is the justification, and fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction, all this nonsense.
Yeah, so even though, and we'll talk about this on Wednesday, but not a gram of fentanyl comes from Venezuela. It's all a lie. The fentanyl, the narco terrorism. Robert Adderholt made a statement that I don't even want to read. He is a local Republican. So, and he talks about thousands of American lives have been killed as a result of Maduro. And I defy him to name a single one. Name a single person who has been killed by anything the Venezuelan government has done. So that's without, like I said, that's without necessarily defending the nature of the Maduro regime. The last elections were a little bit sketchy.
Hey,
but
our elections are sketchy, ain't they?
Our
folks?
elections are a little bit sketchy too.
You ever been purged from the voter rolls? Me personally, I went to vote in 2016, and I was denied my right to vote. I wasn't even allowed a provisional ballot. So Don't talk to me about fair and free fucking elections. How about that?
Fair
Rolling on.
enough. So, but there's no such thing as narco terrorism. That's a made up term that they're using to call their enemies terrorists. Like the definition of the word terrorist has expanded to include anybody the United States doesn't like.
You know, they got that memo out there. Anti-capitalist, anti-fascist, anti-Christian, anti da 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 da.
Yeah, the TPSM 7, whatever it's called. So
So like,
yeah, I don't even want to read Adderholt's statement because it's just full of lies. But basically, he applauds President Trump. Um, so
yeah,
that's
and like 80% of drug trafficking has been found to be done by Americans through airports. So figure that one out, folks. And as we've said before, if they were really concerned about uh, people turning to addiction, turning to substances, maybe healthcare, maybe a thriving wage, maybe education, maybe housing, maybe those things, the root causes of addiction issues would solve this problem.
and prohibition is the root of organized crime's power. And we saw that with the prohibition of alcohol in America, and we've seen it with the prohibition of drugs for as long as drugs have been prohibited.
Got Joy in the chat. Thank you for showing up,
Oh
sister.
yeah, absolutely. Love to see
The
Joy.
The Green Party Alabama will be doing a podcast on anti-war planks in our platform and how this would never have happened if a Green were elected. If y'all haven't checked out, you can search it up. The Green Party platform. It's very robust. A lot of great ideas in it. I suggest y'all read that. And I believe they explicitly stated themselves as anti-capitalist several years ago. I know there's some criticism, as with everything, of Green Party and how things work with it and stuff, but their platform is solid. A lot of good ideas. And
Yeah,
actually,
like
didn't the Green New Deal get stole out that?
it did. Howie Hawkins came up with a Green New Deal, and then several Democrats ran with it, which, getting the idea out there matters. And like we've seen that happen in the past with the original New Deal, how a lot of socialist parties were calling for planks that eventually became part of the original New Deal. So that's one impact that third parties can have on national politics. We can get things into the agenda.
Yeah. Folks, most of the things that are good in this country came from socialists. The weekends, unions, public education, libraries. Uh, I could go on. You know,
And don't sleep on our anarchist comrades who were also part of those fights.
that's right, dog. That's right. Shout out them for sure. But yeah, so that's our representatives. I'm sure Tuberville. I'm sure they just like copied and pasted one statement, right?
I'm
Yeah,
sure. I tried to find something that Dale Strong had said about it. One of Dale Strong's challengers put out a video that you can see on Reddit. His name is Jeremy DeVito. I believe he is a GSA member.
he is, and he's running for congressional district 5.
Against.
The primary is May 19th.
So he put out a statement about Venezuela and how apparently Dale Strong thinks it's still 2003. I saw it earlier on Reddit and thought it was pretty good. So if you check out the Huntsville, Alabama subreddit, you can find it. But other than that, I haven't found a lot of other things said by other people. But you can be assured that people like Dale Strong are all in favor of whatever Donald Trump does, no matter what.
Yeah, no, I think his site is Jeremy Takes a House. I think if you search for that, and he's on TikTok and stuff like that. So check him out. Talk to him, vote for him, support him. He's tired of this shit too, folks.
So yeah,
Joey says, I don't know how you can stand to look at what our national reps have to say.
well, unfortunately, you have to. Like, I have to read all kinds of bad news in order to get ready for the show. That's just how it is. This is part of the job.
Yeah. Well, is it
It's pretty
masochism?
depressing. The news in Alabama is more depressing than not. So whenever I read what's going on in Alabama in order to find out, in order to get ready for the show and talk about what's happening in Alabama, like, most of the news is bad. And that's just, I've prepared myself for it and been inured to it.
Yes.
I don't know why or how.
You inoculate yourself. Eventually, you get desensitized to it, but that doesn't mean that you still don't feel things and whatnot. And I'll get back to that, is foster and revolutionary hope and optimism. Because things can change, folks, because things have changed. We're just in the thick of it right now. And on some levels, we definitely have it better than some folks around the world and previous generations and stuff. So, this still doesn't take away the suck, but things can change. As every time the working class fights, we win. The people fight, we win. It's not complicated, but you organizing your workplace, organizing your school space, organizing your community, takes some time and effort and learning how to do it and all that, but it is doable. And if all you got is $1 once a month, you start there. If all you got is an hour once a month, you start there, and you build and you build and you build. Exercise your muscles, your organizing muscles will get stronger. You'll find your place.
You don't have to wait for permission. You just have to begin.
That's right. That's right. There's a lady down in Montgomery. She started just protesting by herself out there, and some folks saw her, and now she's got a little crew, and she's done mutual aid events and stuff along those lines. So, shout out there. All right. Well, what else we got on the docket?
So I like to stay abreast of what's happening in Alabama's prisons. I think Alabama's prisons are it's a high priority issue for me. It's one of the great moral crimes Alabama is perpetuating at this moment, is the way we treat our prisoners. And so I had a few articles related to prisons. I always have prison news every week. You may as well call this the Alabama Prison Report. So
yeah, we had one gentleman on hunger strike. We talked about him a few weeks ago. Kenneth Sean Freewick, also known as Swift Justice.
So he began eating last Thursday, following medical services reintroduction protocols. Like, as you know, if you don't know, if you haven't eaten for some period of weeks, you can't just start eating again. You have to be refed in a specific way, or else you'll die. So Trewitt was on hunger strike because he reported on a guard who had beaten a fellow inmate named Michael Rouser, and that guard pepper sprayed Trewitt from behind as retaliation. So instead of having the courage of confronting him head on, he come up behind him and pepper sprayed him from behind like a coward. So not only is he beating prisoners, but he's pepper spraying people who dare to speak out against him. And he demanded, so Swift Justice was demanding a meeting with ADOC Commissioner John Hamm and an end to ADOC's retaliatory and excessive force practices. So the strike is over now, but ADOC officials aren't saying much. They won't confirm whether Trawick ended his strike voluntarily or if nutrition was reintroduced as part of a medical intervention. They won't provide any information regarding the circumstances that led to the end of the strike. They won't clarify what specific nutritional intake Trawick has received since ending his hunger strike. And they won't say whether or not John Hamm plans to meet with Trawick to address his concerns. So they're basically following the code of omerta and keeping their mouths shut, which is just the lack of transparency that we've come to expect from Alabama prisons. Bullock is one of the worst correctional facilities in the state. It's one of the most dangerous. There are stories I've heard from inmates about the warden putting out hits on prisoners who dare to speak up for prisoners' rights, like offering $500 in commissary money to anybody who kills this person and that sort of thing.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, Bullock is especially bad. So those are stories that I've heard from back. I used to be a volunteer in the prison system, especially in Limestone. And I used to be a lot more mixed up with the Free Alabama movement than I am now. I've unfortunately fallen out of touch with a lot of the people in that group who are out doing the work.
Yeah, and actually today, they started had an event at 10 at ADOC in Montgomery, which is going to be a series of events leading to what appears to be a strike action by the workers, the people that are imprisoned. So we'll be tracking that and keeping y'all updated on that. I haven't seen any news of that today. Maybe I can make a quick search here in a few minutes. But
yeah. So there will be some actions from the Free Alabama movement. And if you're not familiar with them, I believe they're on social media, on Facebook and other sites. So look up the Free Alabama movement. Very good group of people who are out fighting the fight. It's the relatives of some of these prisoners, along with the prisoners themselves, who are working to make things better in Alabama prisons.
yeah, the folks in prison are the actual organizers of this stuff. The folks on the outside are helping clearly, but it's the folks inside are actually organizers. You know. On little side note, something I learned yesterday, that the Alabama Board of Education actually manages the education programs in prisons. So just a little note there on how bureaucracy works and whatnot. And we have some more prison related news.
So that brings me to, so there's a report from Alabama Reflector on December the 30th titled, "Even After Parole, Some Alabamians Can Remain on Supervision for the Rest of Their Lives." So there are prisoners, especially prisoners who have been sentenced to life in prison. They may receive parole, but the almost 1,200 Alabamians who have done so are on supervision for the rest of their lives. So that involves paying a $40 monthly fee, and it means they can lose their freedom for the flimsiest of pretexts. No matter how straight they've stayed they could be trouble free for decades, and I'm talking about a traffic ticket can get you back in jail. So they've been granted parole. They're revoked and sent back under flimsy circumstances, according to the article. And it mentions a couple of instances. So Archie Hamlet, 53, who was sentenced to life in prison in 1995 after a jury convicted him of trafficking marijuana, a crime that shouldn't exist. Like, marijuana should be legal, and this man would be a successful entrepreneur in a just world. So he spent 22 years in prison for trafficking marijuana at Donaldson, which is also a horrible correctional facility in Bessemer, before he was granted parole in 2017. The report describes his life in prison as a steady series of achievements, according to the article. And I'm quoting here, including obtaining a commercial driver's license, starting a trucking business, renovating a house, and restoring vintage vehicles. but he was pulled over in January and detained after law enforcement learned of his criminal record. So, and get this, he suffers from a documented medical condition that requires him to urinate often. He needed to use the bathroom and wanted to use the portable urinal that he carries in his truck, and officer said no. So then he had to choose whether or not to pee on himself or to relieve himself in the dark. And he chose the latter and was charged with public lewdness and booked into Madison County Jail. So he has a medical problem and he had to use the bathroom. They wouldn't let him use his medical urinal, so he used the bathroom outside because he didn't want to pee on himself.
Yeah, and this man's not 20. Like there's some young folks with urinary and bladder issues, but like when you start getting up, and I'm getting in this range here, your body starts breaking down in funny ways, and I can guarantee you he hasn't had a physically easy life. You know what I'm saying? So like I can imagine that bladder issue might have been created from them making him hold his piss in while he was locked up in the first place. That's what I was thinking.
Prison food in America is so bad, and health conditions in prisons in America generally are so bad. The Guardian actually had an article about prison food in America recently, and it was talking about how it was very common for prisoners to develop diabetes, to develop the other diseases that you might get from eating a diet high in processed foods. And so there's no telling what the conditions of prisons have done to exacerbate this problem.
Yeah, but you won't hear no RFK Maha about that shit.
Right.
Joy here says just that who's going to the Madison County Legislative Forum on Tuesday, 5:30 at City Council chamber to talk to the Alabama state reps that are going to be there. Yeah, just thank you for bringing that up, Joy. There's a full calendar this month, boy. But yeah, this Tuesday, 5:30, you can sign up to talk. There's folks that are coordinating on that if you are interested, and because the way they do it is if there's two people talking on a topic, they skip the other one. Have one person talk, and they shut it down real quick. I was the last speaker last year, and they cut my mic off on the dot. So I had to get loud. But yeah, thank you for reminding us of that, Joy.
Well, so anyway, because he had to pee, Archie Hamlet was sent back to prison to serve out the rest of his life sentence. He is eligible for parole again in March, but it just seems like such a cosmic waste and just utterly horrible. Like a man who's been doing his whole right ever since he got out, and even behind bars, and sent for something that he shouldn't have been gone to jail for to begin with, and to lose his freedom because he had to use the bathroom and the officers wouldn't let him do it.
I'm sure they were hoping he'd piss himself and laugh at him.
I'm sure.
I can almost put $1 on that. Yeah, he shouldn't have been in jail in the first place. Worked his ass off, has a medical issue, throw him back in prison. Just as the title says, folks, cruelty is the point.
And so it also mentions the story of Benny Higgins, who was convicted of first-degree robbery in 1983, sentenced to life in prison but paroled in 91. He remained on parole for 33 years and earned a pardon in October. So, and during that time, he reported to his parole officer every month, and he paid his $40 monthly fee to the state of Alabama. So he worked at the Sterlite Corporation until he retired, and then volunteered at the Salvation Army. Eventually, he joined the Emergency Disaster Services team, getting sent to locations affected by natural disasters. But he received a life sentence as part of the Habitual Felony Offender Act, first passed in 1977, which enhances, and I'm reading from the article now, which enhances criminal penalties for those with a prior criminal history. Courts have invoked that law less frequently since 2006, when new sentencing guidelines were adopted by the Alabama legislature. But individuals may still receive long sentences for lower level offenses if they have prior convictions. So Hagen's picked up a grand larceny charge in 83 and a second in 78. Was it putting them out of order like that? Anyway, so armed robbery is a violent crime, but the other were like nonviolent property crimes. He was sent for life in prison for this. Almost 400 people remain on parole for more than 15 years, while another 72 people are still on parole after 30 years, according to the report by Alabama Appleseed. So Alabama Appleseed has called for legislation allowing those sentenced to life because of the Habitual Felony Offenders Act to have their cases reviewed and possibly resentenced. And they proposed a series of reforms that are meant to reduce the burden for those who spend years on parole. So they want to end the monthly $40 fee. They want to expand opportunities for people on parole to be granted a pardon. And they want to create a standardized process for communicating how people on parole may be granted a pardon that is mandatory and detailed. So they want to end the revocation of parole if people are arrested for a crime but are not charged or convicted. So that's the thing. Like, you don't even have to be charged or convicted. If you're arrested for a crime, and you could be completely innocent and wind up revoked.
Well, what happened to innocent till proven guilty?
I feel like that's a violation of that. So it
Yeah.
also wants the Appleseed also wants to end automatic revocation for technical violations, which I think makes sense. Like, you mess up some bureaucratic thing and you get thrown back in prison and put on, without looking at your case, without looking at anything that you've done to become a productive member of society. You can just have it all taken away from you at any time.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And I did the quick math on Mr. Hamlet there. He paid $15,840 over those years, paying that $40 a month.
Wow.
That's a lot of money to me, boy. That's a whole lot of money.
Right. That's money he could have saved, and obviously a man with some entrepreneurial instincts could have done well for himself.
Yeah. Well, I do. We'll be trying to keep up with all this, and I do. There's obviously organizations and stuff like that support fighting back against this stuff, like Appleseed and Free Alabama movement. I tell you what, man. I hope there's some lawyers on their side suing against this stuff, because
I hope so. It seems
pretty clear cut.
Yeah, I think there were a lot more threats of lawsuits under Democratic administrations, and I was really hoping that one of the things that the Obama administration was set to do was take over Alabama prison systems because they were run so poorly. And the Justice Department has taken over other state prison systems, like in California, and just did a bunch of massive releases of prisoners. But unfortunately, Donald Trump won the election and put Jeff Sessions in charge of the Justice Department. So I was hoping that the Biden administration would pick up where Obama's administration left off and do something about ADOC. But unfortunately, that was not to be either. So now
instead, we got two brand new super prisons, the most expensive in the world, on the way, coming right out of the education fund
and COVID money.
Yeah, COVID money. Let's not forget using the COVID money too.
So we've got school spending, and we've got these goofy vouchers, but we're spending all this money on building bigger prisons instead of trying to focus on Christian mercy and letting people go. who probably don't need to be in prison anymore. And I know dozens of stories, like 'cause I used to volunteer in prisons, and like Alabama used to have a three strikes law. It doesn't anymore, but the people who were put in prison for life on the three strikes law are still there because their law wasn't made retroactive. It didn't release the people who were sentenced under it. So I knew a gentleman who was in his 60s, wasn't a threat to anybody, in prison for life because he received stolen property 3 times. And that's all it took. Like, the man was a fence, and that merited a life sentence. And even though he's well past the age where he's a threat to anybody.
Wasn't a threat in the first place. He was just, broke.
Right. I mean, exactly. In a society that provided better opportunities and provided for our needs in a better way, he probably wouldn't be out fencing things.
And, mentioned in the article about like 400 people are in there for life for property crimes. I'd like to remind the folks that wage theft,
That's right.
on top of not paying good enough, but additionally stealing the wage that you're supposed to get paid, is around 50 billion a year, which is well above the amount of property crime in the whole of the United States. So
Yes.
right now in Alabama, you got companies and bosses stealing wages due to working folks that amounts to more than the property crime that takes place in Alabama.
More than all of it combined. And that's true of the entire nation. That the amount of money that is lost to wage theft, it dwarfs the amount of money that is taken in property crimes. Like, it's not even close. It massively outscales it. So the biggest crooks in the world are the business class.
Got them Epstein class folks. They man, they're good at their jobs, aren't they?
Right. I mean, not to mention they steal our lives every day, a little bit at a time, by requiring us to do bullshit jobs to begin with. When we have the means to make food freely available for everybody, we have the means to make housing freely available for anybody.
You know. So what else we got going on here?
So, well, I want to mention in passing, like, there is Supreme Court has heard arguments on the case of Ham versus Smith concerning an Alabama man who's been on death row for more than 2 decades. So his name is Joseph Clifton Smith, who was convicted of serial SA and capital murder in 1997. He's taken 5 IQ tests with scores ranging from 72 to 78. So the state of Alabama defines a person with intellectual disability as having an IQ of 70 or below. The Alabama's lawyers are arguing that Smith, since he tests from 72 to 78, doesn't meet the threshold for intellectual disability, and that therefore it's okay to put him to death. But Smith's lawyers are arguing that the Alabama's definition of intellectual disability is much too narrow, and that given his low IQ scores, additional clinical evidence should be taken into account. So the state of Alabama is trying to put to death a man with an IQ of somewhere between 72 and 78, possibly. I oppose the death penalty in all cases, I've said before. I think that the Eighth Amendment prevents anybody. I agree with the article when it says death penalty abolitionists argue that the Eighth Amendment prevents anybody in the United States from being sentenced to death.
I mean, how much cruel and unusual can a punishment be?
So it's baffling to me that the people who talk about small government and personal freedom think the state should have the right to kill you. Like, the key ingredient in all the tyrannies of all the past has been the state reserves the right to kill anybody that stands in its way. So I think one way to defeat authoritarianism is to take away the state's ability to kill its citizens.
And residents and non-citizens and whoever.
Absolutely. Right. Like, the state should shouldn't be able to just kill you. Even like there's no legal process that should result in your death.
Yeah. And not to mention it's misapplication. You think they get it right? You think they get it right all the time, folks?
Yeah. And yeah, just to be clear, I oppose the death penalty even for the guilty. I think even if you're guilty of capital murder, you shouldn't be put to death. Like if you're a threat to people, you can be incarcerated. Um, and like not even necessarily for life. Like they've done studies about this, and a man who commits a murder in his 20s, when he gets to be in his 50s and 60s, the chances of him killing anybody drop to nearly nothing.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
crime is largely a young man's game, a young person's game.
which is you know, you looked at that other article, that other gentleman was 16, you know, when he, you know, left the porch, as they say, and some mentorship, some guidance, some support, you know, goes a long way. You know, I and as a kid and stuff like that, I struggled with things along these lines, you know, anger, not knowing yourself, and all sorts of other things, trying to find your place in the world. Like that's where community and love uh, goes a long way.
Right. And you throw lifelong poverty and generational poverty on top of that, and the problems that it causes both with family structure and other things, like it's not a surprise that you wind up with negative outcomes.
Yeah,
But if you intervene in somebody's life in positive ways, you can turn their lives around. And people
yeah,
I've spoken to who are in their 50s who committed murders when they were in their 20s, they were full of remorse. They had made positive steps to work on themselves. And like I said, statistically, you're very much less likely to be killed by a man who's older than 50 than by a man who's younger than 50. So after
yeah.
you've taken somebody's youth, I remember the Pope, I think it was Pope Francis, said something about not only do we have to deal with away with the death penalty, but we have to do away with like putting people away in prison for life sentences, which is basically the death penalty by another name. And I appreciated that perspective. And I think that yeah, I would like to see 20-year caps on sentences. Um, Maybe more if somebody can be shown in an individual case by case basis to be especially a threat. I'm sure there are people in the world who need more intensive and longer interventions than others, but
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 this ain't working.
but this is not working. I think it's devoid of compassion the way we treat criminals and people accused of crimes. And it's
Yeah,
amazing to me that the side that claims to be full of the most Christian mercy and the most Christian compassion is the side that is most loudly calling for just infinite cruelty on people who find themselves afoul of the criminal justice system.
yeah, and just to put, you know, little cap on this before we move to the next thing. You know, we got about 340 million folks in the U.S. We got about half of which are adults. There's about 170 million. 70 million adults in this country have interacted, let's say, with the justice system, arrests and whatnot. So that means almost every other person you meet as that's an adult, about half of the people you meet that are adults have probably been arrested in this country, which is pretty wild to think about.
Right, and of course it bears mentioning that the majority of them are people of color who have to deal with incarceration and they're policed more, what's the word, more strictly than other communities are.
Over policed.
They're over policed.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh, need a. How about we get some secret police that only go after the 1%? Get let's get that spun up. Let's get that department going.
I don't know if I could support a secret police force of any kind, but but I but you're thinking big. I like it.
uh,
I
so
mean, they have the money to get away with their crimes. Like I
mhm,
remember, I remember people thinking like, "Oh, all these celebrities are in the Epstein files. They're going to go to jail." And I was like, "Oh, you sweet summer child,
mhm.
nothing is going to happen to them." Like that is not who the justice system is for.
No, it is not. Uh, no, fortunately, true. But that can change too, folks. That can
Yeah.
change too. Uh, and so, what else we got going on over here?
So, and I'm going to try to be brief because I know we're running out of time. But there is a so one of the things that happened at the beginning of the year is the Obamacare subsidies have expired. So 130,000 Alabamians are expected to lose health insurance as the subsidies expire and the prices spike.
Which is a
And
real pain in the ass, as this order ad shows. Beyond a pain in the ass, it's people are gonna die.
so a 500,000 Alabamians could see the cost of healthcare jump up by up to 25% starting the first.
I,
So that's how many people are covered by the Affordable Care Act in Alabama. And about how much the cost of that coverage may increase with the expiration of federal subsidies.
yeah,
So
not
that
slight correction. I think it's more closer to 100% increase in costs.
so the U.S. House reconvenes tomorrow, but that's not going to be fast. Even if they do something, then it's not going to be fast enough to do something about the price hike. Like I said, like 500,000 Alabamians, so 500,000 Alabamians are going to see health care cost increases, and 130,000 Alabamians are expected to lose their health insurance altogether. So that's after the Democrats folded on on the 43-day government shutdown over the issue. So moderate Republicans are talking about doing something about this when they reconvene, but I doubt that it will be a priority for the likes of Mike Johnson or even Donald Trump.
Well, they need that money diverted back into their pockets through that $5 trillion+ tax cut. But
Right.
one example here is social workers' monthly premium payment is increasing from $85 a month to nearly $750. Uh, that's 1,000%, is it not? 10x.
Yeah. So some families are experiencing doubling and even tripling in their healthcare insurance costs. It's a bad situation. It's unclear what Congress is going to do about it. I doubt the Republican Congress does anything about it. I think Democrats will talk about it. Some moderate Republicans will push for it, but the moderates are not in charge of the party right now. And I think that Trump has it in for Obamacare because it's associated with Obama. And I don't anticipate them doing much in order to stop that. So that's 130,000 Alabamians who lose their health insurance, and 500,000 who are going to have to just eat higher costs.
Yeah, and as I was saying, Republicans cut more than 1 trillion in federal health care and food assistance with Trump's big beautiful bill, big tax and spending cuts bill. Mm-mm-mm. And yeah, the Republicans that are up for election, which is in the House, which is pretty much all of them. This is because I guarantee you, Dale Strong and Adder Holt and all that little crew ain't none of them voting for health care. They had somewhat 100-page plan that they presented that does nothing. That's funny. You can write 100 pages worth of stuff and it say nothing on how to help people.
Right. Well, their goal is not to help people; it's to obfuscate the issue
Yeah,
and to make it appear that they're doing something when really they don't care.
yeah. Not a lick. Not a lick.
Empathy is a sin, after all. So, according to the other side.
Mm-mm-mm. No,
So yeah,
I think Jesus would take all these folks out behind the woodshed.
yeah. There's an old meme about when people talk about what would Jesus do. One of the things that are in the realm of possibility is making a whip out of cords and chasing people out of the temple, like flipping over tables and doing things like that. That is a thing that Christ does in the Gospels.
Yeah.
Obfuscate. Yeah, it's a good word. I've been trying to improve my vocabulary. I used to be very good at spelling, but it's one of the things that has declined as I have aged.
Oh
And
boy,
so I,
I'm in that both with you. Thank you. Spell check. Although, please stop doing ducking. Please. You know,
right.
it.
No one ever says ducking. Ducking is not even a word. Well, I guess it is if you're literally
Yeah,
ducking. But
I mean, you could be ducking something for sure,
yeah, I guess so. I guess it's true.
like ducking taxes. That these folks do out there. Hmm. So we got some other bad news. Where are we going? Hey, environmental cuts.
So over the past 14 years, so in 14 years from 2010 to 2024, Alabama cut environmental funding in half. So to the tune of so it's actually 49%, and the exact number is where is it? Oh, I have all this brought up. It's like 50 something billion. If I can just find it in the article again.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's up there. I want to do the math on this one real quick. Uh, on the average length of cases, enforcement cases, and the backlog. Let's see here. We got 351 days times 1,400. We got 500,000 days in backlogged environmental cases, on top of reduced staffing and staffing being reduced even more, and operating at like 70%, 80% of staffing. Uh,
And the Republicans who are in charge of the federal Environmental Protection Agency have been trying to gut its spending as well. So not only are the federal protections and federal investigation into environmental issues being just devastated, but the state of Alabama has cut way back on its local spending for the state EPA and for state environmental inspections, which is going to have a deleterious effect on many things. Like basically, corporations can poison you as much as they want, and there's nobody to even detect whether they're doing it.
well, there is somebody who can detect it, and it's a doctor when your kid gets cancer, because the cancer rate in children across the country is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And one of the things is because children are more sensitive to that stuff. As you get a little older, you you're able to fight some things off better. But yeah, in just in down the road, the my kids, they know something like 5 kids with cancer,
Wow.
and you do the math on stuff like that. That's supposed to, it's supposed to be like a 1 in 100,000 rate, and there's 400 kids. So you tell me the rate of that.
Yeah, I can't do math in my head that fast. Even though I was a math major, I'm shockingly bad at arithmetic. I went on my annual gambling trip, so it's very strange because on the one hand, I have very mixed feelings about legalizing gambling in Alabama. On the other hand, I personally love to gamble, and on New Year's Eve every year, I go to a casino, and so I went to a casino in Mississippi. And after a few beers, like my ability to add up blackjack cards really quickly took a noticeable hit. So I was like having to ask the dealer, like, is that 15? Yeah, it's 15. So my arithmetic skills have gone downhill, and especially like if I drink a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the problems of getting older.
Yeah. A prohibition on gambling don't work. We've got over 2 billion leaving the state. Lottery here, gambling here. You could drive those funds into universal health care, expand universal child care, education, et cetera, because the tax on the poor is already happening. It's just the other states get it. So
Alabama has a shockingly regressive tax base, and perhaps I'll speak on that next week. Like, I've got some statistics prepared to show that when it comes to Alabama taxes, the majority of them are paid by the people at the bottom, by the bottom
right.
11%.
Yep. Sure enough.
And so I hesitate to add, like, I understand what you're saying, that prohibition hasn't worked. There's like 500 casinos operating illegally in Alabama. And if they were regulated and taxed, it would be safer and better for the state. Like, I understand all that. I have very mixed feelings about it. But I think you make some strong points.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said, I'm a huge hypocrite because I personally love to gamble. I love gambling. Blackjack and craps.
Rules for thee, not for me on that.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I said, I go gambling every year. I save up my loose change, so I'll have a little bit of extra gambling money. And this year I'm used to winning like a few $100. This year I only won $98, which I'm disappointed about.
If you walk out broke even at a casino, you're doing pretty good. Like the only game I play is poker. And I haven't got to play in quite a few years, but I was going down to the VFW for a good while there, and it was they got tired of seeing me. I'll just put it like that.
Fair enough. No, my grandfather was really good at poker. Like, I'll never forget this. He was up like $40,000 one year when he went to gamble, and he gave it to my grandmother to gamble, and she lost every bit of it.
Oh my goddamn!
And they walked out of the casino breaking even, and he wasn't mad about it at all. I was like, grandmother, you should have stopped. Like,
oh my god,
could have paid the house off. But
easy come, easy go.
I guess that was his thought. Like, I mean, I wasn't really mad at it either, but like, it was still like, wow, geez, I would have quit while I was ahead. Like, there's no way I would have kept gambling if I'd lost 10,000.
I would have just sat and been watching him all day, saying, "You need some water? Can I get you a snack?" Yeah, you just sit there.
Yeah, he was very good at playing poker. So he tried to show me once or twice, and it just didn't pick up. Like, I'm better with blackjack because there's a chart for when to play it. You just memorize the chart, and you're good to go. Anyway,
yeah, there's several. There's a calculus to it for sure. God, now you're making me want to go play cards.
I know, right? like that and craps. Craps is also my game, especially when you get a good table and everyone is there to have fun and they'll cheer for you when you're rolling and you make people some money. Like that's always fun. Anyway, I think YouTube limits how much you can talk about gambling, so probably we should change the subject.
Well, let's hit up the last few things we got here. Well, we got a couple things, but like we got bills coming up. But real quick, there's some new EBT cards being piloted with the chip and pin combo. It's 30-year-old technology, at least probably 40-year-old technology. But it's being rolled out. There's people's food money gets stole a lot. Um, they said something like 320 million in the country between October 2022 and 2024. In the state, it looks to be about a 10% loss rate. But yeah, they're going to be upgrading this. But it says when you get the card to tear up your other card, but and it says the beneficiaries can use the magnetic strip as a fallback because the point of sale systems might not support the stuff yet. So, you know, they're doing a pilot program. Hopefully, all that stuff gets worked out, but that's coming down the pipe for folks. And also, look forward to these things being cut as well. And then, where are we at?
So the Alabama legislative session starts a little bit earlier this year. So it begins 2 weeks from Tuesday, and they're doing that because it's an election year. So the politicians have to be out raising money, and they can't raise money while the legislature's in session. So during the election year, they focus on getting the two budgets passed and getting everybody back to campaigning as soon as possible. So even though there are a lot of issues awaiting lawmakers, and January 13th is the day they start, the fire in their belly for getting a lot of stuff done is not very high right now because the pressure is on them to raise money for themselves and for other candidates and for the party.
See, that to me is illogical as hell because them passing something to help the people would be the best way for them to win their election. But
you would think so.
But
they can do nothing for us and collect money from corporate interests. So why would they help us?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you like you said, not going to see anything transformative or visionary or probably too helpful.
What that means is I think it'll be a little bit easier to defeat bad bills this time around because they are so eager to get out of there. So if we and I used to be very down on calling your Congress critter and encourage him to vote yes or no on particular bills. I thought, well, they're not going to listen to me. I'm not a Republican. But ALTRAC, the Alabama Trans Rights Action Coalition, has really shown me the error of my ways there because they were able to kill and delay
bill after bill after
bill,
year after year after year,
just by organizing people to call Congress, to call the state Congress. So they really have turned me on to this idea of, even in a conservative state like Alabama, it's not a foregone conclusion that these chud bills are going to pass, that you can delay them for years. You can even kill some of them outright by calling Congress. So one of the things the show will focus on moving forward is the bills that are coming out on the bills that have been proposed in the state legislature. They're working on an abbreviated time clock. They're eager to get out there and start fundraising again. And so if they encounter lots of pushback on particular bills, they're more likely to kick the can down the road than they are to try to get things done.
Yeah. And they got a few here that are mentioned. Healthcare premiums going up. Trying to figure out that with the state employees to try to keep their premiums the same, related to all this healthcare mess we got in this country. Um, Pay raises for uh, teachers. Uh, that would be great, but you know, at the same on the same side, there was $100 million set aside for that Choose Act, which is basically funneling money to rich people in their private schools and stuff like that, which went 80 million over what was allocated for it, and they're looking to do more, folks.
So yeah. And with that in mind, there's already a couple of bills that are coming down the pipe that we're taking a look at. So just to mention them, I guess we can start with the penalties for lying to the police, which I thought was already a crime in Alabama, because Alabama is a stop and ID state. And so Alabama bill proposes penalties for lying to police, withholding information during stops. So this is House Bill 34, pre-filed for the upcoming legislative session by Representative Bolton, that would make it a Class A misdemeanor to knowingly provide a false name, address, or date of birth to a law enforcement officer performing official duties. Additionally, the bill would create an offense for willfully refusing to provide information, such as a name, address, date of birth, or an explanation of actions, when an officer has a reasonable suspicion of a crime. So Alabama is already a stop and ID state. So I'm curious what this is adding. And my understanding was that it was already illegal to provide a false name. Maybe they upped it from a class whatever misdemeanor to a Class A misdemeanor. So, and of
Yeah,
course, the cops can lie to you all day long as much as they want.
that's right.
So to my mind, like, this law is basically already on the books anyway. It just may not be a Class A misdemeanor. It may be a Class B or a Class C. But you already couldn't refuse to identify yourself in Alabama. It's a stop and ID state. They can stop and ID you for almost any reason.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why this is needed.
Well, I'm sure there's some, and to me, this is unconstitutional. Uh, you know, this isn't a lawyer advice, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, we'll reference the famous lawyers to remind you on it's Sunday, but shut the fuck up Fridays. You know, you interact with them, uh, keep your mouth shut. Is
Yeah.
basically the advice that a lawyer gives folks.
Yeah, you have the right to remain silent, and you should definitely exercise it.
Yeah, and we got a comment here. Well, that will get thrown out if it involves requiring you to explain your actions. It's one thing to require you to identify yourself properly, but the Constitution and Miranda rights gives you the right to not speak or testify against yourself. So that section would be unconstitutional, and we will see on the Alabama channel. Shout out Alabama channel and the League of Women Voters. Check out their YouTube. They're going to have all the committee stuff. They're going to have all the sessions. So if you want to stay up to date when sessions kick in, we'll be watching them and pulling our hair out and etc. and drinking a lot of coffee. We got some other fun little bills. We've got the bills to propose patriotic and religious changes in schools. Two of them, SB5 and HB 43.
So these would actually require an amendment to the Alabama Constitution. So to mandate the Star Spangled Banner be performed weekly in schools with the first stanza, that's the first stanza is the part that that ends with the land of the free and the home of the brave. Like, it turns out there are two more stanzas that are equally long. So are performed using Library of Congress approved materials. So the state would have to vote on that if by voters in a statewide referendum, just like every other change to the Constitution. So yeah, it requires, which it seems like it's such a minor hill to die on. But for all the complaints about indoctrination of students, like, here they are trying to indoctrinate students with this rah jingoism.
Well, and they're tying to it funding. That's
Right.
That's a real little trick they're pulling right there. And I would be very interested to see how, like, folks other than Christian folks feel about this. But
so HB 43. So in addition to requiring the weekly performance of the Star Spangled Banner, HB 43 would propose another constitutional amendment that requires the daily recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, allowing voluntary participation.
Yeah. You know,
it mandates school boards to vote on policies permitting voluntary daily prayer and religious readings within 90 of the bill's passing, with strict consent requirements. But it's only requiring Christian prayers and Christian religious readings, right? Like, it's not going to permit readings from the Talmud or from, God forbid, the Quran.
Yeah, or
seems
that was how many religious texts are out there in the world, really?
Right, exactly.
No.
Right, and it's not fair. It's not fair to make Muslim students listen to Christian readings and to not provide space for them to say their prayers and for them to hear from their religious text, or for Jewish people, or for anybody else.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to pass constitutional muster on its face.
And there's bigger issues related to education, like teacher shortages, and hot buses in the summer, disciplinary issues, public education, employees' health insurance. We just mentioned that.
Not to mention the funding cuts from the Choose Act.
And the destruction of, I was talking to the Madison County Democratic chair, and she said that basically the Department of Education is destroyed at this point.
Wow.
That funding from the federal government, and we're a quote unquote welfare state. We get more back in taxes than we put out, right? That's kind of what they mean by that. That includes education stuff, and you mentioned earlier how our education fund and money's going to prisons. So what a shit show, folks.
Yeah, prisons blow a hole in Alabama's prison budget. Like, there's a lot of talk sometimes about for-profit prison systems, and that is a problem, but it's not as big a problem in Alabama. And we are spending scads of money in order to lock people up. And, like, the money we could save by implementing a more humane prison system is quite large. And I forget the exact numbers, and maybe I'll have that prepared for a later show, since I like to include the Alabama Prison Report every time.
Joy points out, and I was thinking about that today too, Joy, that not only students using AI or at all, inappropriately or at all, but teachers too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And lawyers, AI should be banned, in my opinion.
I concur.
There's already studies that show that it degrades your brain function, degrades your memory, degrades your logic, your critical thinking, all that stuff. lies, hallucinates, it's wrong. I've seen 87% of the time when you get into stuff, it's built off stolen. It steals data from artists, from musicians, from you, from everything. And yeah, and there's already over 5,500 data centers in the U.S. Got one going up in Anniston where they're giving them a 30-year no tax lease on the land, or not lease, but no taxes on the land. Might provide 100 jobs. So, yeah, that's a pretty good deal if you're the data center owner.
Yeah. No, I am a proud Butlerian Mujahid. I'm ready for the Butlerian Jihad.
Let's go. Let's go. I want to read that Doom book. I heard that I haven't read that one, and I think Frank Herbert's son actually did that one, but apparently he missed the point.
Yeah, just a little bit. So basically, it's implied that the original Butlerian Jihad was mostly a spiritual struggle against dependence on thinking machines, and he turned it into a literal struggle against like a Skynet type entity. So I think that he missed a significant portion of his father's point.
Which was run by rich people also. Like he missed that point as well.
Right. So I do feel like he missed the point. And I haven't read any of the books that were put out by his son. Like I read up to chapter House Dune and then I quit because I think I tried to read one book by Brian Herbert and I really don't like. I think it was Paul Anderson, who's an author that I really don't like. And so I think I tried to read part of one of their books and just bounced off of it pretty hard. So the original Dune books are, for the most part, pretty good. The first 3 books are especially good. The 4th book is weird. The remaining 2 books are okay.
Yeah, check it out. Join your local Butlerian Jihad chapter, folks, and make sure you keep your kids away from AI. But, I think that's about it for this week.
That's all that I had. So we managed to wrap it up in an hour and 45 minutes.
That seems to be our norm on this stuff. I guess if we cut everything from the beginning, we'd be down to around an hour. But you know, I think there's a little. Y'all tell us, folks. Is y'all like the socialist history stuff? You like the mention the conspiracy stuff? You like the memes and media stuff? Or do you just like the articles? You tell us.
I like the memes. I would hate to get rid of the memes because if it weren't for the memes, it would be
dry as a bone.
Yeah, and nothing but depressing news because there's very rarely any good news coming out of Alabama politics.
Well, we need to level up this year and find and make maybe some Alabama related memes. But yeah, you got anything else, dog?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, just remember, folks, there's strike actions going around Alabama prison labor. There's a legislative session coming up in Huntsville on Tuesday at 5:30. There's People's Movement Assembly is coming up in this area. There's going to be an event on Women's Day. And keep your eyes out, join an organization, get out there and do the work. You got $1. Hey, do $1. Also, the Democratic Party is doing qualifying right now for the SDEC, which is the executive committee that they serve 4-year terms and make the bylaws and elect the board. that runs the state party. And they're also qualifying folks to run for office for, your county education board, state education board. Up here in District 8, there's a Moms for Liberty lady running for office. And of course, all these unopposed folks that year after year get elected and don't do nothing for us. So keep that in mind the next couple weeks, and I hope you put your nose into the fight. So
We definitely need more people involved.
Absolutely. And well, I think that's about it.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell us that we suck.
Yeah. And as we like to say around here, all the power to all the people. We the people break our chains together. Solidarity forever, folks.
Solidarity forever.